The Diary in the Hidden Drawer. Chapter 1. My great-aunt Beatrice was a woman shrouded in polite silence. I remembered her as a formidable, somewhat distant spinster, always impeccably dressed, with a stern gaze and a faint scent of lavender and old paper. She lived in a large, quiet house filled with antiques, and her visits to our bustling family home were rare, marked by hushed conversations and an air of unspoken formality. When she passed away at 98, leaving me her antique writing desk, I saw it as a symbolic gesture, a quiet passing of family history. I'm Clara, 60 years old, and like Beatrice, I found myself in a quiet season of life after retirement, my own children grown. The desk itself was a masterpiece of mahogany and intricate carvings, a relic from a bygone era. I placed it in my study, a beautiful piece that added a touch of old-world charm. For weeks, I admired it, running my hand over its smooth, polished surface, imagining the letters written, the thoughts pondered, at its venerable expanse. One rainy afternoon, feeling a restless urge to explore, I began to examine the desk more closely. I opened every drawer, felt along every edge, searching for any hidden compartments, a common feature in furniture of its age. My fingers traced the underside of the main writing surface, and then a faint click. A narrow, almost invisible seam appeared, revealing a shallow, secret drawer. My heart gave a little flutter, a hidden compartment, just like in a mystery novel. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a small, leather-bound book. It was a diary, its cover embossed with a delicate, intertwining initial, B. Beatrice. The leather was soft and worn, the pages slightly yellowed at the edges. I opened it carefully, a faint scent of age and dried flowers wafting up. The first entry was dated March 12, 1938. Beatrice would have been a young woman then, barely out of her teens. The diary spanned years, ending abruptly in 1955. I began to read, my curiosity quickly deepening into fascination, then into a profound sense of awe and sorrow. The Beatrice of these pages was not the stern, distant woman I remembered. She was vibrant, full of youthful dreams, artistic aspirations, and a deep, abiding love for her younger sister, Eleanor, my grandmother. The early entries painted a picture of a close-knit family life, of shared secrets and whispered hopes. Beatrice loved Eleanor fiercely, describing her as lively, beautiful, and the light of our home. As the entries progressed into the late 1930s and early 1940s, the shadow of World War II began to creep in. My grandmother Eleanor's husband, my grandfather, was called to serve. It was in the entries from 1940 that the tone shifted, subtly at first. Then, with increasing urgency and despair, Beatrice wrote of Eleanor's increasing quietness, her distracted gaze, her fading laughter. Then, a shocking entry, written in a shaky hand. June 14th, 1940. Eleanor. My heart aches for her. Her secret, it is growing, too large to hide. Oh, Eleanor, my sister, what have you done? What will become of us all? Father will disown her. Mother will be shattered. The shame, the disgrace, no one must ever know. My breath hitched. Eleanor, my grandmother, a secret, growing, shame, disgrace. The entries continued, revealing the devastating truth. While my grandfather was away at war, Eleanor had an affair, a scandalous affair. not just because her husband was away, but because the man was from the wrong side of the tracks, a local mill worker, charming but deemed utterly unsuitable by their prominent family. Eleanor had become pregnant. August 3rd, 1940, she told me, in tears, trembling. I held her, my poor, foolish sister. She is so frightened. We are all frightened. What can be done? A child out of wedlock. During wartime. Our family name ruined. The desperation in Beatrice's words was palpable. The fear of social ruin, of ostracization in their conservative community was immense. As I read, a terrible realization dawned on me. My great-aunt Beatrice, the spinster, the quiet one, was about to make a monumental sacrifice. October 20th, 1940, a decision made. A terrible, agonizing decision, but the only way. For Eleanor, for our parents, for the family name. I will tell them it is mine. I will say I adopted her. I will raise her as my own. November 5th, 1940. She is here. A perfect tiny girl. Evelyn. My Evelyn. My heart breaks for Eleanor, who can only hold her in secret, who weeps silently each time she sees her niece. My sister, my dearest sister, my heart bleeds for your sorrow. But this child, she is blameless. I will love her with all my being. I will protect her, always. Evelyn, my mother's cousin, or so I had always believed. My mother's mother, my grandmother Eleanor, had an affair, became pregnant, and Beatrice, her older sister, had taken the child, Evelyn, and raised her as her own adopted daughter. Evelyn grew up believing Beatrice was her mother, while my grandmother, Eleanor, lived with the secret anguish of losing her child, seeing her grow up as her niece. My head spun. Evelyn was not my mother's cousin. Evelyn was my mother's full biological sister. My grandmother Eleanor had a secret child. My great-aunt Beatrice had made an unthinkable sacrifice, giving up her own life, her own potential for marriage and family, to protect her sister and her family's reputation. The quiet, distant spinster I remembered was, in fact, a woman of immense selflessness, profound love, and heartbreaking sacrifice. The desk, her diary, held a secret that had profoundly reshaped the lives of two sisters and altered the very fabric of my family tree, all hidden beneath layers of carefully maintained silence and appearances. I had to understand the full story. I had to know Evelyn. Chapter 2.1 The Diary of My Great-Aunt Beatrice, found in the secret compartment of her antique desk, had shattered my understanding of my family. The entries from 1940 revealed a profound sacrifice. My grandmother Eleanor had a secret child, Evelyn, born of a scandalous affair during World War II, while my grandfather was away. To protect the family's reputation, Beatrice, Eleanor's older sister, raised Evelyn as her own adopted daughter. Evelyn grew up believing Beatrice was her mother, while my grandmother lived with the silent anguish of seeing her own daughter grow up as her niece, my mother's cousin. This revelation was overwhelming. Evelyn, a woman I had always known as my mother's cousin, was in fact her full biological sister, my aunt, the quiet, distant spinster I remembered. Great-aunt Beatrice was a woman of immense selflessness, love, and heartbreaking sacrifice. The diary wasn't just a record of the past. It was a living testament to a hidden truth that had shaped generations. As I continued to read, the diary became a window into Beatrice's world, a world of immense love and quiet suffering. She meticulously documented Evelyn's milestones, her first steps, her first words, her triumphs at school. Beatrice wrote of the joy Evelyn brought her, a joy that tempered the bitter sadness of the deception. But woven into these loving accounts were constant threads of guilt and longing. March 15th, 1943. Evelyn calls me Mama. My heart swells with pride and a terrible ache. Eleanor watched, her eyes filled with tears. She wishes it were her. I wish it were different for her. But the secret must hold. December 24th, 1945, Christmas with Evelyn. She believes the story of her adoption wholeheartedly. She loves me so. But sometimes, when Eleanor holds her, I see a flicker of recognition in Evelyn's eyes, a yearning for the mother she knows but doesn't know. This deception is a heavy burden on us all. Beatrice also wrote of my grandmother, Eleanor. Her anguish was palpable. Her attempts to connect with Evelyn as a niece strained. Her silent tears often noted in Beatrice's entries. Eleanor carried the pain of her lost child, seeing her every day, unable to claim her. The diary hinted at the difficulties of maintaining the deception, the whispered questions from relatives, the careful crafting of the adoption story. Beatrice mentioned discreet visits to the local adoption agency to verify the paperwork, always a stressful ordeal. She described how my grandparents, Beatrice and Eleanor's parents, had been complicit in the deception. Driven by a desperate fear of scandal that would ruin their family's standing in the community, their strict, traditional values made them prioritize reputation above all else. The entries from the late 1940s and early 1950s spoke of the increasing strain on Beatrice. She never married, devoting her life entirely to Evelyn. There were hints of suitors she turned away, dreams of her own family she sacrificed for the sake of the secret. Her artistic aspirations, mentioned in earlier entries, faded, replaced by the full-time demands of raising Evelyn. The last entry, dated August 1st, 1955, was brief and filled with a profound sense of weariness, but also a deep love. August 1st, 1955. Evelyn is grown now, a beautiful, intelligent young woman. She has her own life, her own joys. The secret has held. She is safe. My purpose fulfilled. But oh, the silence of it all, the quiet sorrow. After 1955, the diary stopped. Did Beatrice simply stop writing? Or did something else happen? I knew Evelyn eventually married, had children of her own, and lived a full life, still believing Beatrice was her biological mother, and Eleanor was her beloved aunt. My mother, Eleanor's legitimate daughter, had also grown up unaware of this profound secret, believing Evelyn was her cousin. My next step was to find Evelyn. She was still alive, in her 80s, living in a retirement community a few hours away. We had always had a distant, polite relationship, seeing each other at family gatherings, but never close. Now, I knew her entire life was built on a foundation of hidden truth. The decision to reveal the truth to Evelyn was agonizing. How do you tell someone in their 80s that their entire understanding of their identity, their parentage, and their family history has been a carefully constructed deception? The diary, while filled with love and sacrifice, laid bare a truth that could shatter her world I needed to approach this with the utmost care, sensitivity, and compassion. I decided to prepare by meticulously outlining the evidence from the diary, the dates, the names, the profound emotional context. I would bring the diary itself as a tangible testament to Beatrice's truth. This was not a decision I could make lightly, but Beatrice's silent suffering, Eleanor's anguish, and Evelyn's right to know her true origins compelled me to act. The diary, a vessel of forgotten secrets, was now guiding me towards a monumental revelation, a path that would forever alter the lives of my family. Chapter 2.2 The Diary of My Great-Aunt Beatrice had revealed a life of profound sacrifice and a family secret of immense proportions. My grandmother, Eleanor's illegitimate child, Evelyn, raised by Beatrice as her own adopted daughter. The weight of this truth, Evelyn's right to know her true origins, compelled me to act, despite the agonizing complexity of revealing such a deeply buried secret to an 80-year-old woman. Before approaching Evelyn, I decided to seek out other possible living relatives who might have been aware of the secret, or who could corroborate parts of Beatrice's diary. My mother, Eleanor's legitimate daughter, had passed away years ago, unaware of her true sister. But there were a few distant cousins, older than myself, who might have heard whispers or remembered certain nuances in family dynamics. I reached out to a distant cousin, Martha Vance, who was in her late 80s and had a sharp memory. She was a meticulous family historian, the keeper of old photographs and anecdotal stories. I cautiously broached the subject, asking about my great-aunt Beatrice and her adopted daughter Evelyn. Martha's eyes clouded with a familiar sadness. Ah, Beatrice, such a dear soul. And Evelyn, a complicated story, Clara. The family always said Beatrice adopted her, but, well, there were always whispers. The timing, you see. Your grandmother Eleanor's husband off at war, and Beatrice so devoted to Eleanor. We never spoke of it openly. It was a scandal that would have ruined them all back then. Martha confirmed the whispers, the unspoken understanding within the older generation that something was amiss with Evelyn's parentage. She couldn't provide explicit details about the affair or the birth, but her confirmation of the whispers and the scandal added another layer of validity to Beatrice's diary entries. It reinforced the immense societal pressure that drove Beatrice and the family to such desperate measures. With this corroboration, I felt more confident in my approach to Evelyn. The diary provided the emotional context, and Martha's words confirmed the family's awareness, albeit unspoken, of the deception. I arranged to visit Evelyn at her retirement community. I brought the diary, carefully wrapped, and a few old, innocuous family photos to ease into the conversation. Over tea in her sunlit living room, I began gently, reminiscing about Beatrice, about family gatherings. Evelyn, I began, my voice trembling slightly. I recently found something quite extraordinary in Beatrice's old desk, something that sheds a very different light on her life and on our family. I carefully explained the hidden compartment, the diary, and Beatrice's unwavering love for her. I began to read excerpts from the diary, focusing on the entries about Beatrice's love for Evelyn, her joy in raising her, her fierce protectiveness. I watched Evelyn's face, her initial curiosity turning to deep emotion as she heard Beatrice's innermost thoughts she had never known. Then I came to the entries from 1940. I took a deep breath. Evelyn, Beatrice loved you fiercely, more than words can say. But there was a secret. a secret she carried to protect your mother, Eleanor, and our family. The judgment of the time. I read the entries detailing Eleanor's pregnancy, the scandalous affair, the decision for Beatrice to raise Evelyn as her own. I explained the societal pressures, the fear of ruin, the desperation that led to such a profound deception. Evelyn listened in stunned silence, her eyes wide, tears slowly tracing paths down her wrinkled cheeks. She picked up the diary, touching the aged leather, as if seeking confirmation from Beatrice herself. "My mother, Eleanor?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "My mother was Beatrice? All this time?" The revelation was a profound shock, a complete reorientation of her entire life's narrative. Her adoptive mother, Beatrice, was truly her biological mother by love and sacrifice. But her true biological mother was Eleanor, the woman she had always known as her aunt. The confusion, the questions, the pain of a lifelong deception were visible in her eyes. "Clara," she finally said, her voice stronger. Show me everything. I need to understand." We spent hours together, poring over the diary entries, the family photos, piecing together the true story of her birth and early life. I showed her the subtle nuances in old photographs, Eleanor's strained smile when holding Evelyn, Beatrice's fierce protectiveness. The revelation brought a torrent of emotions for Evelyn: shock, confusion, a deep sadness for the life her true mother, Eleanor, had lived in silent anguish, and an overwhelming sense of gratitude for Beatrice's profound sacrifice. Evelyn always felt a deep, unexplained bond with Eleanor, her aunt, a connection she now understood was the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. The diary, a relic of a hidden past, had truly opened a new chapter for Evelyn and for our entire family. The journey of understanding, forgiveness, and connection was ongoing. We planned to tell my mother's living siblings, Evelyn's true full siblings, about their long-lost sister. The secret, kept buried for so long, was finally seeing the light of day, bringing both pain and an undeniable sense of wholeness to a family irrevocably changed by the courage and sacrifice of two sisters. Chapter 3.1. The truth, painstakingly revealed through Beatrice's diary, had transformed Evelyn's understanding of her entire life. She was not the adopted daughter of Beatrice, but the biological child of my grandmother, Eleanor, Beatrice's sister. This meant Evelyn was not my mother's cousin, but her full biological sister, and therefore my aunt. The initial shock had given way to a complex tapestry of emotions: sadness for the deception, profound gratitude for Beatrice's sacrifice, and a deep, aching longing for the truth she had lived without for 80 years. Our immediate task was to allow Evelyn to process this monumental revelation. We spent several days together, talking for hours, revisiting the diary entries, poring over old family photographs. I showed her pictures of my grandmother Eleanor as a young woman, tracing the subtle facial resemblances to Evelyn that I now saw so clearly. It was a powerful experience, watching Evelyn slowly reassemble her identity, finding new meaning in old memories. Evelyn recalled fleeting moments from her childhood that now made sense, a deep, almost visceral connection she felt with Eleanor, her aunt, a bond that transcended the typical aunt-niece relationship. She remembered Eleanor's sometimes tearful hugs, her intense gaze, The way Eleanor would often linger after family visits, watching Evelyn with an unspoken longing. Now those moments were clear expressions of a mother's suppressed love. "I always felt Eleanor understood me," Evelyn shared, her voice filled with a mixture of sadness and wonder. More than Beatrice, even. It was a silent understanding. I never knew why. The diary continued to provide context, offering insights into my grandmother Eleanor's hidden anguish. Beatrice had recorded Eleanor's struggles to cope with the separation from Evelyn, her efforts to be present in Evelyn's life without betraying the secret, her silent suffering. It painted a picture of two sisters, bound by a profound love, making impossible choices under immense pressure. The next crucial step was to inform my mother's living siblings, Evelyn's true, full siblings, about their long-lost sister. My mother had passed away, but her two younger brothers, my uncles Robert and David, were still alive, in their late 70s. This revelation would undoubtedly shake their understanding of their family history. I prepared them carefully, explaining the discovery of Beatrice's diary and the extraordinary story it contained. I chose to meet them separately, to allow them space to process the information individually. My uncle Robert, the older of the two, was initially incredulous. "Evelyn, our sister from mother? Impossible." He was a man who valued order and tradition, and this secret overturned everything he believed about his parents and their lives. But as I read excerpts from Beatrice's diary, detailing Eleanor's anguish, and presented the context of the 1940s, his skepticism slowly gave way to a profound sadness. "Poor mother," he murmured, his voice choked with emotion. "All that time, she carried that. And Beatrice, my goodness, what a woman, what a sacrifice." My Uncle David, the younger, reacted with more immediate compassion. He remembered Beatrice as a quiet, kind presence, and Evelyn as a beloved cousin. The story of Beatrice's sacrifice deeply moved him. To give up her own life like that, it's a love story, Clara, in its own way. And mother, living with that pain, it's heartbreaking. Both uncles expressed an immediate desire to connect with Evelyn, to welcome her into their true sibling circle. The idea of having a sister they never knew, especially one who was their mother's child, was a powerful motivator. The phone call between Evelyn and her newly discovered full brother, Uncle Robert, was tearful and deeply moving. He apologized for the years of unknown separation, welcomed her with open arms, and promised to visit soon. David's call was equally warm, filled with a sense of wonder at this new connection. The family was expanding, embracing a truth that had been hidden for 80 years. The secret, a source of potential shame in a bygone era, was now a story of immense sacrifice, enduring love, and the profound resilience of the human spirit. The diary, a simple, leather-bound book, had become a powerful agent of healing, bringing a long-lost sister home and reshaping the narrative of our family forever. The journey to fully integrate Evelyn into the family, to reconcile the past with the present, was just beginning, but it was a journey filled with love and a newfound sense of wholeness. Chapter 3.2: The integration of Evelyn into our family as my mother's full biological sister and my actual aunt was a gradual but profoundly beautiful process. My uncles, Robert and David, embraced her with a mix of awe and deep affection. Their initial shock had given way to a profound understanding of the sacrifices their parents and Beatrice had made. They saw Evelyn as a living testament to a complex, painful, yet ultimately loving history. Evelyn, for her part, was overwhelmed by the sudden expansion of her biological family. She spent countless hours with Robert and David, sharing childhood memories, comparing family stories, and finding echoes of her own experiences in theirs. They discovered shared mannerisms, a common love for certain family recipes, and a similar dry sense of humor inherited from their mother, Eleanor. It was a beautiful, ongoing reunion, filling a void Evelyn had unknowingly carried her entire life. The diary of Beatrice remained the central artifact of this revelation. I kept it carefully, now not just a historical document, but a sacred text. Evelyn often asked me to reread certain entries, particularly those detailing Beatrice's profound love for her and Eleanor's silent suffering. These words provided constant validation for her feelings, confirming the truth of her past and the deep love that had always surrounded her, even amidst deception. We also took the time to reflect on the societal context that forced such a secret. The 1940s, wartime, the immense pressure to conform to social norms, the fear of scandal. It painted a picture of a world far different from ours, where such choices, though agonizing, were deemed necessary for survival and reputation. This understanding allowed for compassion rather than judgment towards my grandparents and Beatrice. They were not malicious. They were products of their time, driven by fear and a misguided sense of protection. Evelyn expressed a desire to visit the place where her biological mother, Eleanor, grew up, the family home from which she had been sent away to protect the secret. We traveled together to the quaint old town, visiting the house, now owned by a different family, the local church, and the community where the scandal might have unfolded. It was a pilgrimage, a way for Evelyn to connect with her roots, to understand the world her biological mother inhabited, and to grieve the lost years of connection. We also visited the graves of Beatrice and Eleanor. We placed flowers on both their headstones, side by side. For Beatrice, it was an acknowledgement of her immeasurable sacrifice, her boundless love. For Eleanor, it was an act of understanding, a recognition of her lifelong anguish, and a quiet promise that her lost child had been found. We spoke their names aloud, a silent benediction, bringing their stories together, finally, in the light. The family secret, once a source of shame and concealment, was now a story of resilience, love, and the enduring power of family bonds. It transformed our understanding of Beatrice from a distant spinster to a selfless heroine. It deepened our empathy for Eleanor, revealing her not just as my strong grandmother, but as a young woman who endured unimaginable pain. And for Evelyn, it completed her identity, providing the missing pieces of her life's puzzle. My own life, already settled into a quiet rhythm, had been profoundly enriched by this unexpected journey into the past. The antique desk, with its hidden drawer, had yielded more than just a piece of furniture. It had given me a hidden history, a deeper understanding of my roots, and a beloved aunt I never knew I had. The found diary, a fragile collection of paper and ink, had become a powerful testament to the complexities of human relationships, the enduring power of secrets, and the profound beauty of truth, finally finding its way home. It was a reminder that even in silence, stories echo, waiting for the right moment, the right hand, to bring them to light. Chapter 5.1 The Diary of My Great-Aunt Beatrice, found in the secret compartment of her antique desk, continued to be a profound source of revelation and connection. Its pages, once hidden, now laid bare the intricate tapestry of my family's past, revealing the selfless sacrifice of Beatrice and the lifelong anguish of my grandmother Eleanor, whose secret child, Evelyn, had been raised as a cousin. Evelyn, now embraced by her full biological siblings, my uncles Robert and David, had finally found the missing pieces of her identity. Our family, once seemingly straightforward, now understood itself with new depth and empathy. The story of Beatrice, Eleanor, and Evelyn became a central narrative, taught to younger generations not as a scandal, but as a powerful tale of love, sacrifice, and the harsh realities of a bygone era. As I continued to reflect on the diary, one question lingered: the identity of Evelyn's biological father. Beatrice's entries hinted at a man from the wrong side of the tracks, a local mill worker, charming, but deemed unsuitable by the family. While the diary didn't explicitly name him, the descriptions were vivid enough to spark my curiosity. For Evelyn, understanding her paternal lineage was another crucial piece of her identity puzzle. I revisited Beatrice's early entries, particularly those from 1939 to 1940, looking for any subtle clues about this man. Beatrice mentioned his kind eyes, his gentle laugh, and the fact that he was always covered in flour dust from the mill. This suggested he worked at the local flour mill, a prominent establishment in their town during that period. I began to research the local flour mill's employment records from the late 1930s to early 1940s. This was a challenging task, as many old business records were lost or unindexed. However, the local historical society had a small collection of old town directories and some digitized newspaper archives that occasionally listed local businesses and their employees. Through this meticulous search, I found a few names of young men who worked at the mill during that exact time frame. One name, in particular, resonated with the faint descriptions in Beatrice's diary: Thomas O'Malley. He was listed as a miller's assistant, a young man known for his charm and his occasional dalliances, according to old town gossip columns I found. The O'Malley family was indeed from a different social stratum, hardworking but not part of the established. Prominent families like the Vances. I began to research Thomas O'Malley. I found his birth and death records. He had served in the war, returned, and lived a quiet life in a nearby town, eventually marrying and having children. He had passed away in the early 1980s, unaware of Evelyn's existence. To confirm the biological link, I discussed the possibility of DNA testing with Evelyn. While she had already connected with her maternal siblings, confirming her father's lineage would be another powerful step. Evelyn agreed, eager to know more about the man who was half of her genetic heritage. We used Evelyn's existing DNA profile on the Genealogy database to search for matches on her paternal side. We looked for any individuals sharing significant amounts of DNA, predicted to be first or second cousins to Evelyn, who had O'Malley surnames or were connected to the O'Malley family tree. The results were swift and undeniable. Several strong matches appeared, individuals with the O'Malley surname, predicted to be Evelyn's second and third cousins. These matches traced their lineage back to the same Thomas O'Malley. Further, some of the matches were predicted to be first cousins to Evelyn, meaning their parents would be siblings of Thomas O'Malley, or Thomas O'Malley's own children. This confirmed the biological link. Thomas O'Malley, the mill worker with kind eyes from Beatrice's diary, who had shared a secret love affair with my grandmother Eleanor, was Evelyn's biological father. Evelyn, seeing photos of Thomas O'Malley, felt an immediate sense of connection. She recognized subtle features in his face that she saw in herself: a shared smile, a particular set of the jaw. Another piece of her life's puzzle had fallen into place, completing her understanding of her origins. We reached out to some of Evelyn's newly discovered O'Malley cousins, gently explaining the complex family history revealed by Beatrice's diary. They were surprised, but remarkably open and welcoming, curious about this unexpected branch of their family tree. They shared stories of Thomas O'Malley, painting a picture of a hard-working, good-natured man, adding another layer to Evelyn's understanding of her father. The antique desk, with its hidden drawer and the diary within, had truly served as a powerful portal to the past. It had not only revealed my grandmother's secret and Beatrice's incredible sacrifice, but also brought to light the full, complex tapestry of Evelyn's biological heritage, connecting her to two families she never knew she had. The healing process continued, enriching our family's understanding of its history and embracing all its hidden branches with love and acceptance. Chapter 5.2: The Identity of Evelyn's Biological Father, Thomas O'Malley, confirmed through meticulous research and DNA matches, brought another layer of completeness to her identity. Evelyn had not only found her biological mother, Eleanor, and her selfless guardian, Beatrice, but now the story of her father, a man from a different world who had shared a secret love with her mother. The antique desk, with its hidden diary, had truly opened a portal to a past that continued to yield profound truths. Evelyn embraced her newly discovered O'Malley relatives with joy. They were a boisterous, warm family, quite different from the more reserved Vance side. She found common interests, shared traits, and a sense of belonging in this unexpected branch of her family tree. They shared anecdotes about Thomas O'Malley, painting a picture of a man who was good-humored, hard-working, and deeply respected in his community. Evelyn discovered she had inherited his love for gardening and a subtle artistic streak, traits she never quite attributed to the Vance family. Our expanded family, now including the O'Malleys, was a testament to the resilience of human connection. The story of Evelyn's birth, once a source of deep shame and secrecy, was now a narrative of complex love, profound sacrifice, and the enduring power of family bonds. The secrecy of the 1940s, a response to harsh societal judgment, was replaced by an open embrace of all the hidden branches. My own life continued to be profoundly impacted by this journey. The quiet comfort of my retirement was now infused with a richer understanding of life's complexities. I often found myself reflecting on the power of objects to hold stories, the way a simple diary tucked away in a hidden drawer could unlock decades of unspoken truths. The antique desk sat in my study, no longer just a beautiful piece of furniture, but a silent guardian of a remarkable tale. I decided to meticulously transcribe Beatrice's diary, ensuring its contents were preserved for future generations, a historical record of courage, sacrifice, and unconditional love. I created a comprehensive family tree, detailing all the newly discovered connections, ensuring Evelyn's true lineage was clearly represented. This was a legacy, a gift to my family and to Evelyn that celebrated every branch, seen and unseen. The journey had been long, starting with a simple act of cleaning an inherited desk. It had led me to question everything I thought I knew about my family, to uncover a hidden love story, to find a lost aunt, and to witness the profound healing that comes from knowing who you are and where you come from. The silence that once surrounded Beatrice had been replaced by a chorus of voices celebrating her love and sacrifice. My grandmother Eleanor's silent anguish was finally understood, her strength in carrying such a secret acknowledged. The diary in the hidden drawer became a symbol not of shame, but of resilience, of love, and of the enduring human need for truth. It taught me that secrets, no matter how deeply buried, can eventually find their way to the light, bringing not just pain, but also a deeper understanding, profound connections, and an unexpected sense of wholeness. The whispers of the past, now fully revealed, echoed not with scandal, but with the triumphant melody of a family finally, truly found.